Hello again, everybody. Andy Kennedy along with Sean Callahan. It's our Friday forecast on the correct day. It is Friday. Game day is tomorrow. Nebraska and Akron, 1-0 Huskers versus the 0-1 Zips. Before we get into the Zips, let's talk about Cincinnati. Sean, what is your big takeaway from that Thursday night game down in Kansas City?
Well, I think just for Nebraska to go through a game like this early in the year. What was the model a year ago? Chasing three? Well, they found three. They were able to close out and win a three-point type game with the play. They didn't fall into the win. They finished it with the play. You would like to have seen their offense just get one more first down and finish it that way, or their defense get a stop on fourth down, but then they were able to close it out with Hartsoug's play. Definitely a lot of things that you're concerned about, but the bottom line is they got the win, and there were a lot of positives as well.
Yeah, winning plays. That one, the biggest one by Malcolm Hartzog. One of the red flags was rushing totals. When you look at the stat sheet, 200-plus for Cincinnati, but a bulk of them by their quarterback, Brandon Sorsby.
Yeah, I thought for Nebraska the QB run game was tough, and they're not going to see a lot of quarterbacks like Sorsby the rest of the way. But he did show some things on film that other teams are going to take advantage of. The other thing that jumped out to me last week, Nebraska had no sacks, no QB hits. So they did not hit the quarterback one time. They blitzed 13 times in that game. They did create 9 pressures, but they weren't able to get any hits or sacks. And you would like to see that improve here in these next 2 home games.
Huskers did win the turnover margin 2-zip. Let's talk offense. Big news on Monday is that Janiron Bonner, which most of the people feared, it is a season-ending injury for the Huskers do-it-all guy.
Yeah, Matt Rule kind of alluded to this post-game, but confirmed it here Monday to start the week. And tough blow, because he kind of was that physical Swiss Army knife to he could play fullback, tight end, receiver. He's a guy that broke his leg in high school, was ejected from a vehicle, broke his femur. Now undergoes another serious injury here. You hope Janiron can come out of this deal, but it's going to rise up somebody in that rotation. Probably Quinn Clark sees more time. Maybe Jeremiah Jones gets out there. Maybe Keelan Smith. But, yeah, that is a blow because of the versatility that Janiron Bonner gave the offense.
No question. Matt Rule also said it may be time for Carter Nelson to see more action. They kind of eased him into training camp, but he was a point of emphasis here on Monday.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot of plays in the opener, but you would like to think, again, being at home. And, again, Nebraska doesn't leave Lincoln now, Andy, until October 11th. They are home cooking until mid-October, and their own beds, their own stadium, no travel roster restrictions. So there is a lot of time now for Matt Rule, Dana Holgorsen, John Butler to really sort out this roster and kind of get things set up before they have to kind of whittle it back down to a travel roster again when they go out to Maryland and Minnesota on back-to-back weeks.
Yes, Akron, Houston Christian, Michigan in the Big Ten opener, bye week, Michigan State, right? That's how it goes.
Then you go to Maryland and you go to Minnesota.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's talk. One more piece of news that came out on Monday was the running back rotation. Emmett Johnson had, 32 touches, 25 carries. He goes over 100 yards, but I think what concerned a lot of Husker fans is he was really the only guy.
Yeah, Emmett Johnson played 69 snaps. That was the highest number a Nebraska running back has played outright in a game since Devino Zigbo saw 80 snaps against Purdue in 2018. Amir Abdullah in those days would do that every week, but it is a high number, an alarmingly high number. I think Matt Rule knows that, and it's not a winning formula to ride Emmett Johnson at that level because the numbers and the data show you just can't do it every week in this league at that level. So these next 2 games particularly, Akron, Houston Christian, they've got to lighten the load on Emmett and get more reps going and just figure out what they have because game running is obviously a lot different than practice running.
Dylan Raiola completed 33 passes on Thursday. It was the 4th most in a game in Husker history. He was just, 3 off the all-time school record. But he has some options, and some of that, the high number of attempts had to do with the way Cincinnati was playing. And people may fault Nebraska for not having as many explosive plays, but that's by design. That's what Cincinnati wants you to do, right?
Yeah, Dylan Raiola was nearly perfect on short throws to the middle of the field. Cincinnati played that 3-high shell. As Matt Rule said, it was basically a 3-2 box, and it required the quarterback to make a lot of basically 6 to 8 yard throws. Playing a game of darts, you're just kind of playing cricket out there, trying to hit the numbers, and Dylan had to be perfect, and he was. He had a couple misfires here and there, but he finished the game, Andy. I don't know if this was noted, but he had 11 straight completions to finish out the game.
That's pretty impressive. He made plays when they counted most. And he has a couple receivers in Dane Keene, Isaiah Hunter, and Luke Lindenmeyer. Man, they played well on Thursday. I want to touch on special teams before we get on Akron. Kind of a mixed bag, so to speak. But what Matt Rule said on Monday was he was impressed with the battery, meaning the snap, the hold, and the kick. I thought that was impressive.
Yeah, you don't make a 52-yarder without a good snap, kick, and hold. And it was all there for Kyle Cunanan for his first kick as a Husker. And for any college football kicker, it's rare that your first attempt is 52 yards and you nail it. And so I thought that was a great start for him. I thought Archie Wilson pinning 3 punts inside the 15-yard line. 2 of those went to the 9. He did his job. 3 of his 4 punts were inside the 15-yard line. So that was big, and there were no punt return yards. Now, the kickoffs out of bounds and some of the miss hits on kickoffs
and missed opportunities on punt return, I think Matt Rule said. Those are a play or a guy or a block away from breaking.
So what do you do now at kickoff specialist? Do you go back to John Hall or Cunanan, or does Tristan Alvano get an opportunity in that role? That's one thing we don't really know what the plan will be as far as special teams, but we know Cunanan's the guy at kicker, and we know Archie Wilson brought a lot. I think the real question now is kind of the kickoff team and getting that ironed out.
Well, you'll get a couple weeks to iron that out. Let's talk about Akron, the Zips, not just the nickname, but it's the amount of points they scored in their opener against Wyoming at home, losing 10-0. This is right out in front of Nebraska. They can really get some things right this week.
And I checked the forecast. I don't want to jinx it. There's no rain with Akron coming, no lightning.
That's right. Good point.
So hopefully Akron decides to stay in town and play a football game this time around. And, that 2018 night was one we'll never forget, just how wild that was with the Zips coming in. And this is ironically a home opener, again, for Nebraska, without Terry Bowden now on the sidelines for Akron. But this is a team that lost 10-0 to Wyoming, did not show much on offense. They're actually ineligible, Andy, to go to a bowl game because of their academic progress ranking. Sure. And so they're one of the only teams ever, really. There's only been a handful in the history of the APR that have not been at bowl eligible because of their grades. So they're playing for really nothing this year as a program other than getting checks like playing games against Nebraska.
Yeah, well, maybe this is their big game of the year, right? Because this is the one time that they could make some news nationally. You go into Nebraska and give them a fight, I would think, right?
Yeah, you would hope. I mean, they only gave up 10 to Wyoming, but their offense just didn't do much. So the good news is Nebraska will have a good tape to look at. I don't think they're going to be too caught off guard by anything they're going to be seeing this week, where openers on the other end, you see that. That's why playing a Power 4 opener, you watch a lot of these big games this weekend, a lot of teams play it close to the vest out of the gates just because they don't really know what the opponent's going to show. Now you have a better feel, and you hope the adjustments and some of the things that you want to see get made here in week 2 and week 3.
Yeah, Cincinnati just 228 yards of total offense, 89 on the ground, just averaging 3.2 yards per rush. Well, it's been a while since Nebraska opened the season away from home and came back 1-0 for the home opener. Last time, 1999. Hasn't happened this century, but it will happen Saturday when the 1-0 Huskers take on the Akron Zips. It's a 6:30 kick. It's on the Big Ten Network.